Hola, buenos días, ¿cómo están? We're going to see something very important. And this is a lecture. A lecture like if I was in the classroom explaining something very important to you. So take it as a lecture. It's long, but the good thing is you can stop it at any time and continue. It is not interactive because you're not asking me questions, but it's actually good because you can stop it at any time and go back and stop it. And it's kind of long. It's going to be kind of long, but it saves me a lot of time if I'm doing it in the classroom. I am expecting a lot of you writing down, taking notes, and asking me questions about some things that you did or not understand. My way to explain this is a little bit different from what you are seeing in VHL. There's also a video here. There's about 3 minutes long. That is fun. So I just put it here because I usually show it in the classroom. I'm going to ask questions in the classroom about this video, so hopefully everybody watches the whole thing. Take your time, don't get bored, go to sleep, take a nap, come back, because this class is very, very, absolutely important. Not for me. I learned this when I was in, I don't know, third grade in Argentina, but it is important for you. All right? ¿Listos? ¿Listos? Okay, here we go. Let's start. We are going to talk about los verbos. And in this particular chapter, we're going to see the verbos regulares. And I'm going to explain what verbos regulares means. Now, let's start with simple definition. See, a simple definition. What is an infinitive? Infinitive is just the name of an action. What am I doing now? I'm speaking. The action, the name of the action is to speak. No? That's the name of the action. So that is what we call an infinitive. Infinitivo. Remember this word, please. Infinitivo. Right? It's the basic form of a verb. That's going to be question número uno en la clase. So here we have your first example of an infinitive in Spanish. In Spanish, mirar. See, mirar is to watch. That's the name of the action. It's not anybody doing an action. If I want to do an action, I will have to say, Laura watches the sunset in Rosarito. But no, I'm not making a sentence here. I'm just introducing the name of the action that I'm going to describe later. So the name of the action is simply mirar. And look at the last two letters here. Ar. That's importante. ¿Qué hace el niño? See, look at the picture. So what is this niño doing? El niño mira or estudia, sorry. El niño estudia. The name of the verb is estudiar. Remember that the one before was mirar, also ending in ar? This one is estudiar. But here, when I make it in a sentence, look at the ending will change. Alright? So we have two parts in the sentence. We have el niño, and we have the action that the niño is doing. Alright? So when we put these two together, the action and the niño in this case, that's when we conjugate. That's when we make a sentence. In this case, ¿qué hacen los muchachos? We're going to talk about an action that all these guys are doing. Alright? So los muchachos miran el partido. The name of the action that the guys are doing is mirar. Alright? Mirar. Now we put together the name of the action with a subject. So the name of the action will change a little bit. So we have los muchachos miran el partido. ¿Qué hacen estas personas? So we have a group of people talking. And in this case, the verb is hablar. Hablar. Remember, the H is completely silent. And when I put together the subject, las personas, and the verb mirar, I have a sentence there. And the sentence is, las personas hablan. Then this terminology, you can stop it here and read it over and over and over. It's just a terminology, but you need to understand more than memorizing the definition. You need to understand what they mean, and I'm going to explain all this throughout this video. What is a conjugation? What is a subject? What is an infinitive? We'll see this in a minute with different words. First of pronombres. You study this in chapter 1. See, what is a pronoun? A pronoun modifies or replaces a noun. Alright? And in this case, there are pronombres personales. Personal comes from persona. So there are pronouns for personas of the subject. Alright? You study this. You saw this already in chapter 1. And those pronombres personales are divided in singular and in plural. In singular is when only one person is in the subject. Only one person is in the subject. And we have first person, second person, and third person. It's just like in English. Alright? First person is always first person. Who's the first? Yo. Alright? And then the second person, that's when could become a little bit confusing for you because it is you, but we have two different kind of you. The you informal is the one that we're going to put in the second person. The you formal, you Mr. President, that's the one that we're going to put in the third person because we don't look at the eye of the other, see, of the queen. We say, sí, señora, sí, señor. We don't look at the eye, we treat that person with respect as a third person. So we put that category of personas in the third person, right? So we have first person, second person, and third person singular. Yo, tú, and in the third person singular, besides having él could replace Pedro, could replace José, all right? Could replace el señor, could replace el elefante, all right? And ella could replace anything, no, see, anything or anybody who is a female, all right? Either word or person. And then we have the usted. Remember that we borrowed from the second person. This is not replaceable. You don't replace usted for anything. It's just you, Mr. President. All right? So those are the third person. Primero, segundo, tercera. And then we have also primero, segundo, tercero in plural. But second person, thank God, we are not going to see second person in this class. I don't even use it. I don't even know it. I will have to study it if I have to teach you the second person plural. They use it in Spain only. So if you go to Spain, there's a replacement for that. We don't use the informal second person because this is the first person singular. Here we have the first person plural. We don't have a second person plural because we don't use it in America. In the whole America. When I say America, I'm talking about North, Central, and South America. And all the people that speak Spanish here, they do not use the second person. So we're not going to use it here. Right? Which is the tú plural. Vosotros. We don't use vosotros or vosotros. Alright? Tercera persona singular. The plural of él es ellos. Plural of ella es ellas. Plural of you, Mr. President, will be you and you and you and you and you. All of you. You all. Alright? And it could be informal or formal. Doesn't matter. It's all of you. you guys. All right? That will be third person plural. So those are the pronouns that go in the sujeto. All right? But what is el sujeto? All right? And what is, again, the name of the action? Let's put all those terms again together. So what is the infinitive? Is the name of an action. What is my name? Laura. What is the name of this action? Caminar. All right, so that's the name of the action, to walk. It says over here, the infinitive is no conjugated verb. Then it is kind of it. And you'll see why. I consider the verbs when they are conjugated, they are matching a subject. To me, they are alive. Therefore, they are the heart of the sentence. So here there is a list of this type of infinitives. Are. So I want you to take a lápiz a papel. You already know that from chapter 1. Take a lápiz a papel and write any of these actions, see, that you think you're going to remember. For example, usar. Usar is very easy because it's to use and it's a cognate. So take the verb usar, write the word, remember what it means, don't write the English next to it because your brain is going to work with the English and not with the Spanish. So just write the word usar and underline whatever is left after you take the ar apart. All right? So take some of these verbs. For example, practicar is also a cognate, to practice. You can do the same. Write the word practicar, take away the ar, and stay with the practic. All right? And let's take another one. I don't know, anyone you want. Visitar is another cognate. So you can pick that out. Visitar. So take the visit. Yeah, visit. And take away the R for now. Alright? So those are all names of verbs that end in R. There are three groups of verbs in Spanish. We're going to see it. This is the first group, R. Now let's see it. What is the subject in the sentence? All right, we know that subject pronouns. We already talked about subject pronouns. See, pronombres del sujeto, and we already talked about infinitive, the name of the action. So let's talk about what is the subject. The subject is that part of the sentence as the performer of whatever action we are going to put. If the sentence doesn't have an action being performed, even if it's a, ¿cómo se dice? A not sujeto in there, but it is an action being performed. That is a sentence. When there is no action performed, that is a phrase. To be or not to be. That is a phrase. To me, a phrase is a dead sentence. It doesn't have a conjugated verb. There is not a performer in that sentence. Therefore, there is no action going on. So here we have el expresidente usa el teléfono. So you took the verb usar from what I asked you in this one, no? And you took away the a. So you had this left. And now you have a subject. We have to match that subject with the verb. All right? So el sujeto es la persona, cosa que ejecuta la acción. Subject is the person or the thing that performs in the sentence. All right? Performs the action. So here we have all together what I just explained to you. We have Sol, my granddaughter. Sol, so she's the performer. And she's doing an action. What action she's doing? The action of bailar, to dance. So when we put together the action bailar with Sol, who's the one that is doing the action, we have Sol baila. Right? So let's try to, let's hear in a video, what is conjugation? Oops. All right. Here we go.
Conjugation. An arrangement of the inflectional forms of a verb. The act of conjugating. The state of being conjugated. I'm bringing conjugations back. Genitives just don't cut it, Jack. Take off the ending and put something back. Don't put you at us to match those subjects. Those verbs they would not you unless you conjugate. What type of rhyme should we work with today? I think an AR verb will be okay. First step, drop your ending. Put an O on it. Put an S on it. Put an A on it. Put an Amos on it. Put an ice on it. Put an N on it. Conjugate your verbs. Forget your conjugation on. 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 I'm bringing conjugations back. And I'm teaching all the rules you lack. The quiz is coming, better learn it fast. To conjugate these verbs, you'll be glad. Those verbs, they would much unless you conjugate.
Much unless you conjugate.
What type of rhyme should we work with today? I think an AR verb will be okay. First step, drop your ending. Put an O on it. Put an S on it. Put an A on it. Put an Amos on it. Put an ice on it. Put an N on it. Conjugate your verbs. Forget your conjugation on. Forget your conjugation on. Forget your conjugation on. Forget your conjugation on.
So this video is in my YouTube channel. You have it there in the syllabus. Then let's put the phone down. Thank you. Muy bien. Let's go back to what the verbs are. So you saw in there that they say take the endings and put something back. All right, what is an ending and what is the something back? With the verbs that I ask you to do this thing of separating the are. See, for example, when you put usar, this is what you had left, ¿no es cierto? When you put usar. So this is what we call el tronco. And this is the ending. All right? You saw that all this group of verbs are ending. Here, I decided that the verbs are like trees. And the verbos regulares, the regular verbs, are like palms, because the palms are the more regular of all trees. They all have the same stem, the same type of tronco. No, they're regular, they're like this. They are not like gordos or anything loco with holes in the middle or branches or anything else. This is just, look, that's the stem. And then you have the ending. The ending is different depending on what type of palm you have. So it changes a little bit, but they follow a pattern. See, they follow a pattern. And that's exactly what the verbs do. Remember when you took usar? So this is the tree, all right? This is your stem, And this is the part that is going to change depending on who you have in the subject, right? That happens when the verb is regular. If the verb is irregular, like the verb ser that you already learned, those verbs you need to memorize them word by word because they are different in every one of the persons. For example, yo soy, tú eres. They don't follow this, all right, because they are irregulares. They are not palms. They are not palmas. They are different type of trees, and we need to memorize those. But we don't need to memorize the regular verbs. So that there are three types of infinitives in Spanish. We divide them by the ending. The first group is the group that we are seeing in this chapter. The next two groups, we're going to see them in the chapter 2, chapter 3. So the group that you have here are the adverbs. And then we have another group, and another group, ir. All right, there are three types of regular verbs, or irregular, it doesn't matter. There are three types of verbs in the Spanish word. All the infinitive in Spanish. All the infinitives end in an R, no exception. All the infinitives. If it ends in an R, it's an infinitive. It could be ar, it could be er, and it could be ir. But they all, absolutely all the infinitives end in an R. Here we have the example of those three groups in a poem. All right, when the verb is regular, they never, ever, ever change that stem, that root. Those are the parts that you separated from the R when I ask you to do that, all right? So that's the stem. And that's the big group, the one that is going to identify itself as the R group or the air group or the ear group. And then you're going to change this thing depending on who you have in the subject, depending if the verb is in present tense, in past tense, in future tense, or whatever. Right? So this is ready to use. I want you to take the verbo usar, is the last one that is over here, or practicar, because you use both. I ask you to take both of the first one. So take the first person. The first person pronoun is yo. So the are, every time that the subject yo is doing the action, this are, remember, take your ending, take it in there, put something back. All right, what are you going to put back? In this case, see, we know that this is el tronco. And what you're going to put over here, we know that is an adverb. So depends what you have in the subject. It tells you over here, if yo is in the subject, you need to replace the R. You need to replace R for this letter. So what are you going to have? Yo, when you put it together, yo uso. If you conjugate in second person, when tú, mi amigo, is in the subject, you need to replace the R for this ending. So what are you going to have? Tú usas. Now we go to the third person singular. In the third person singular here, it tells you what the ending is that you need to replace for the R. So you take away the R and you put this ending. All right? And then for nosotros, the first person plural, which includes yo plus somebody else, the ending is going to be amos. All right? Amos. So we're going to put amos. Adding this part. Remember, that's going to be one word. And then the last one, when the subject is either ellos, a group of people, or a group of animals, or a group of things, all right, or you all. When that is the subject, then you're going to add an. So this is what you should have in that row. You should have yo uso, tú usas, él usa, nosotros usamos, ellos usan. Alright? That you should have it there. And the same way you can complete the whole thing. Because I have the er endings and I have the ir endings for you, even though you don't need to learn those yet. The mechanism is the same. You take away the ending and you put the letter that they tell you that is going to go instead of the either ar or ir. And for all the verbs that are conjugated in first person yo, for all those verbs, all right, you have one ending, which is the o. If the verb is regular in present tense, the ending is going to be o. So if I tell you, you know that I am doing an action. We don't know what action is, but you know that it ends in an o. If I tell you, amos, you know that it's an action that we're doing together, and it's an R verb, right? In present tense. So, here, this is your assignment for Monday. You're going to conjugate this page. You can choose any, let's say 5. Choose 5 sentences. You don't have to do all 13. If you want to do the 13, that's very good. Muy bien. But you're going to choose what verb goes from this list. Right? So I'm going to do the first one for you, but you need to do all the rest by yourself. So we have Pablito as a subject. We know that Pablito is a name. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or if it's a girl. It's a name. Even if you don't know what Pablito means, that should be third person because it's not yo, it's not tú, and it doesn't have an S at the end. Alright? So that's a third person subject. We have Pablito and something that Pablito is doing to Laura attentively. So what could she be doing? It could be mirar. No? What does she do? Pablito is a boy. Pablito, it could be mirar, it could be hablar if he's talking to Laura, it could be escuchar if he listens to Laura. So let's see which one is the one I put. Escucha. We have a Laura because the a is the canaro. We have a connection between those two people. I'm going to talk about that later. So Pablito escucha a Laura. The verb is escuchar. I took the R away and I put the ending a. So you need to do the same with at least 5. Choose any 5 of these sentences and bring it to class. I want those 5 sentences on the desk at the beginning of the classroom. I take that, and that is part of your online assignment for this week. If this is the online class, all right? So this was a long and terribly tedious lecture, but only 5 sentences you have to do from here. You also have to watch the tutorials and do the exercises, the practice exercises on the website for before our class on Monday, all right? All right. Nos vemos. Adiós.